Hello and welcome to the Quantum Home Sanctuary Summit 7, Quantum Activations to Effortlessly Optimize Harmony, Empathy, and Prosperity. And I'm Helena. I will be your host today. I have a very special guest, Vandana. Did I say that correctly?
Yay!
Needed a little coaching on that. Vandana is an extraordinary gifted healer, actually. I've been experiencing her before, and the energy of her tribe coming in, I want to point that out. She is the founder and the creator of Vandana Light Healing and was gifted her name, her Dharma name, by Mother Amma, the precious, awakened, fully self-realized master teacher. Since her first darshan and Shaktipat, the holy hug experience, the love experience, the touch of Amma's embrace has awakened Vandana's long-held inner gifts to vibrationally serve and support all sentient beings. That's a big assignment. She's an experienced Reiki master, teacher, spiritual mentor, guided meditation facilitator, storyteller, writer, and entrepreneur since 2007. And her practice is based in New York. Her greatest joy is to create a safe and sacred space for her clients and students to heal ancestral karma, intergenerational trauma, core fear imprints, and veils of disempowerment from past lives, alternate timelines, and parallel realities. Whoa, that's wonderful. Vandana channels an intergalactic blend of earth and star energy medicine from her team of divine feminine physicians, 5D doctors, and etheric light surgeons through the sounds of her voice, her healing hands, and ancient light codes. She receives through the Divine Mother archetype, and her energy medicine programs, trainings, certifications, and transmissions are facilitated and available online. So a warm welcome, Vandana. I'm really honored to have you here today. And I'm excited to have this conversation. I've been waiting to chat with you. So I've been feeling the energies. We were here making lunch, and I was feeling the energies of your guidance team coming in quite a unique way. So I want to address that because I always feel them coming in, but this had a very, very light, playful energy, I want to say, and a hopeful energy, but it was almost like dancing with joy is the words that come.
Wow.
Yeah, so dancing with joy, like lighting up the space. So
I love that.
How did this come about, this connection to this? And it was very specific. This group of guides was I have to say, very, very specific and unique. How did this connection come about?
That's a great question, Helena. I think that it's a gift. It's in my ancestral DNA. I want to say my maternal lineage for mostly, though I didn't really know my paternal lineage that well, but I'm pretty sure it was on both sides. I think it's just a sensitivity. It's a calling. It's a developed sixth sense that I think gets passed on from generation to generation. And I think it's just a willing to listen and to, observe and become a witness of the invisible beings, the ones that are working behind the scenes to save all of us, to save this species so that we can shift into Homo luminous light bodies, rainbow light bodies, from the Homo sapiens species. But it's interesting. I'm not really sure how it came about or when, I just know, I believe that it's always been there. Yeah, it's just a knowing. It's a feeling. And I believe that we are all hardwired. We all have this capability. It's just being willing to accept that part of us and to own our powers. And everyone has a different type of gift, whether it's clairvoyance, clairsentience, clairaudience, even clairalience and gustance, which is like that sensing spirit information through our mouth, through the sense of taste and smell. Just tasting, smelling, knowing that there is something greater than us out there that wants to help us, that's always available for us. And there are so many different clusters of earth and star beings. I mean, there are the divine feminine is reemerging from every planet, star system, dimension, and incarnation. So they definitely have a lot to say because of all of the years of female suppression, oppression, and just feeling that we don't have a voice or we're not allowed to speak our truth. So I feel like they've been, I don't want to use the word using, but they've been coming through in my field, in my awareness, in my soul, so that I can bring them in and introduce and attune other people to specific types of energies that different people at different points in their growth process and their personal evolution need. For example, this team of fays, fairies, pixies, devas, they came in to your space because this is the medicine that was needed to uplift you or to expand you or to awaken you to a part of you that maybe needs some more like loving care or just more tending to. And those were the ones like the bundles of joy. Those were like the very playful
Yes.
parts of maybe like childhood innocence, those playful, carefree days when there was really nothing to plan for or nothing to run from or run toward, but just like when you were totally present and connected with nature. So I believe that these were the nature spirits that came in to feed you and nurture you with this type of reminder, this type of, I say, energy medicine, and also maybe to trust your intuition more often than you have been. So these are all just messages coming through. They kind of tell me, and then I say it and tell you. So just like probably you do, though I know we've just met in this lifetime again officially, but I'm sure we know each other from other timelines. So yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Absolutely answered the question, because yes, it was like an ingredient of lightness that is very, very important at this time. So thank you for addressing that. And we were talking before, and one of the things that I know is that as someone of your level of sensitivity and awareness, your childhood was probably how would I say this correctly? Well, might have been confusing to others, that some of the sensitivities and the gifts that you're carrying. So for the benefit of the audience who is experiencing something quite similar, I'm sure, how were your sensitivities revealed in your childhood home? What was that experience like for you?
Well, first of all, I just want to say that I love the sounds of the wind in the background.
Oh.
So it feels like the goddesses of the wind, of the air, of nature are definitely here. Probably I'm getting the vision, the image of these benevolent deities, goddesses, like blowing blessings, blowing with the wind, like blessings to us, which will help to form a deeper, stronger, but a more expansive connection with all beings, all sentient beings on the planet who are now listening to this broadcast. So to answer your question, and it's interesting because I am, over the last, I would say 2 to 3 years, really focused on helping adult children. So helping adults to reparent their inner children. The reason is because this is also ancestral. It didn't start with our family line. And as far as honoring my sensitivities, it was actually more like the opposite, feeling in the collective consciousness, which was like being sensitive is not a good thing. It also can lead to wearing your heart on your sleeve, or that silly human expression, like kind of being raw and vulnerable is not, was discouraged, not encouraged. I remember my mother, who also was really psychic and gifted too, as well as my grandmother. And it's funny because I just received an old picture of my maternal grandmother, like about 30 minutes ago in my inbox. Oh. And I got a chance to kind of read her energy too, which is what I also teach, how to read the energy of anyone or anything. Then that includes psychometry and, dowsing, and just reading the energy of a photograph is pretty cool, and everyone can do it. So getting back to me, my mom would just say, you're just too sensitive. Whenever I would feel a need to express my feelings, or if, I used to cry at the drop of a hat, it was extremely sensitive. And she would just, tell me like, it's not good. Like, you're too sensitive for your own good, and that's not going to serve you. Which actually served to the opposite is actually true, right? So it does serve me, and it does serve all of my clients and students who are also sensitive but don't know quite how to navigate these gifts. Because to be an empath is not an easy thing, especially right now over the last couple of years, because everything just seems to be exacerbated or accelerated. And everything's coming out into the open, which we know is a good thing in the long run. But when there is just so much intensity of energy building and circulating and radiating, it's just like somebody who can sense energies, even from beings on other planets and star systems, that could feel like a lot to take on. So we really have to know how to navigate our sensitivities, because that is actually, there's so much wisdom and there's so many gifts behind that, because I think it's about holding that space of compassion, because we know what it's like, and we've lived through that childhood pain or that disempowerment or the feeling of being different, or maybe even, in school, just because starseeds usually do have that type of human experience, because we are different, right? And not everyone on this earth is a starseed. Most are, but there's a lot to talk about on this with this subject. But I think sensitivity is a good thing, but we just need to know how to handle it and how to manage our sensitivities and how to use it to be of service. Right.
Yes, making it a strength instead of a weakness, or
exactly. Yeah,
mastering what's behind the intuition or the sensitivity, which is, so at this time, we are beginning to actually honor sensitivity and empathy, which was never done before. I know that the messaging, I think for most of us, was kind of like not here, not now. I think that's what I recall. It's like, okay, not here, not now, whatever that is that you're experiencing or seeing or feeling or knowing, not here, not now. So that led into a trajectory in the story of many of the empath sensitive starseeds of making it private, of hiding it, and then eventually hiding it from themselves, which is one of the things we have to leap over is pulling that strength, those abilities into our present day reality, into our present day moment. Yeah. So what events helped you to remember your dormant DNA? What was it in your life? Because I feel that a lot of our audience, they have also done this thing, not here, not now, so they've hidden it. But what invoked this spirit in you, this ability to work with the energy and to use it to serve others?
It was a calling, and the voices from my soul voice, my higher self, I am presence, whatever you want to call that voice, my inner voice or my goddess voice, was just getting louder and louder and becoming more and more, I don't want to say deafening to my ears, but it was just like a message that I couldn't ignore anymore, and I couldn't stuff down, repress, or push away or deny. It was just the knowingness for so many years that there must be something bigger and greater out there that I didn't feel that I had permission to express, just because of all of that childhood suppression, right? And not feeling like I had a voice, not feeling that I was heard, valued, appreciated, and delighted in for what I knew. Even as children, we know everything about our parents, which can really intimidate and feel threatening and scary to the adults in our lives, because we already have it all figured out. Probably at the moment of conception. But it was a couple of life events led up to this turning point. I think the main thing was my first awakening or major. I think that we all experience a series of awakenings, just like ascension doesn't happen overnight. And the first thing was probably my divorce. That was my first wake up call and feeling like, what now? After years of hiding, like you said, not here, not now, now's not the right time to do something different, to take a chance, to take a risk, to take a leap of faith. I just knew that I couldn't do what I had been doing, to try to sort of squeeze myself into this box of limitation and pretending to be someone else that I never really was. And I just felt ready. My soul, not me, the persona of me, or in an ego way. But my soul was like, okay, now's the time. And then everything just started magically happening when I started to take action. And it went to a Reiki school called the Edgar Cayce ARE Center. Edgar Cayce, as you probably have heard, was a sleeping prophet. And I always felt very grateful and lucky and fortunate that I was actually given a scholarship to become a Reiki master teacher in 2006. And that was about a year's training. So it wasn't like a fly-by-night weekend, Reiki 1, 2, and master level like they're doing.
Okay, you're a master now. Yes,
yeah.
I'm very familiar with that one. Yes.
I mean, and of course, I'm still teaching Reiki, all the levels. All the levels of Reiki. But that's really when my life started changing. And then toward the end of that training program, my mother transitioned, and I was very worried about her, but I would use all my Reiki symbols to send her distant healing. And then I went and I made a trip there and gave her a session. And I remember her sitting in her chair, almost like slumped in her chair, but with this big smile, this sense of like glow, like peace all around her. And I was just kind of leaning over and just like going through the hand positions and holding her hand and her heart and her belly. And then she just said, and leading her through like a guided imagery. Like I do these sacred shamanic soul journeys just to kind of lighten up the energy and help her to rest and digest, because she had been through a lot of suffering in her life. Also, a lot of childhood wounds that were definitely passed on to me. But she just, when she opened her eyes at the end of the session, she said, I have never felt this relaxed in my whole life. And at that point, she was, I want to say, in her upper 70s. And I thought, wow.
Yeah,
that's like really remarkable. So there was that. These are usually, we grow the fastest through the most difficult experiences and life events. And I'm no different. Yeah. And, after that, then I just was like, okay, I'm teaching Reiki. Then I started teaching. I realized that I am a teacher, a healer, a teacher, and a writer. All these gifts started opening up. But I had no idea how that was all going to play out, and then I wound up getting all these certifications and all these different healing systems and modalities. And then I wound up creating my own healing modality. And then I think the last growth spurt was when I left a business partnership about 5 years ago now, and realized that I never really needed this business partner as I thought I did. But he was handling all the, the click funnels, the marketing, the promos, and, he was really a good teacher for me in many ways, because he taught me how to do what I'm doing right now.
Yes.
Which is sharing my gifts and communicating with people all over the world online. Because before that, everything was in person. Yes. Every support circle, every healing workshop, every client was done in person. So there's value. They say, I'm also a Buddhist, so they say in Buddhism, there's value actually in everything. Even the things that we label as horrible, terrible, and awful, they too, if we look at it from a higher quantum perspective, they too have value. And they lead us to the next step of our own personal evolution. So I think that really, to sum it all up, the last 15 years, that's what I think this was a natural progression. It was meant to be. And it is the most empowering thing that I could have done for myself. I also, after the divorce, was involved with someone for 6 years, left that relationship as well. And that was really difficult because there was a lot of fear. How am I going to do this? And then even with my divorce, my son was 7 or 8. How am I going to be a single mother? And time after time, I keep proving to myself that I'm way stronger than I was ever told, or even gave myself permission to believe. And everything just feels like, okay, let's do this. I got this. Like, let's see how we can turn this wound around, this poison into medicine, and how we can make lemonade from lemons. And even when old insecurities pop up, there always is a way that comes in, and I've learned to just really step out of my own way. and not to think or decide that I have to know everything, or I have to be prepared for the next thing, or I have to be in charge or in control, because we know that's just another dream. So giving up control, when that was the thing that kept us feeling safe and protected as children, is not such an easy thing. But with practice and with mindfulness, which is what I also facilitate on my journeys, is breathing in. I know I'm here, I'm alive, I'm still breathing, and that's a good thing. And just following that breath, and then letting go on the exhalation and saying, I'm here, it is now.
I'm here, it is now. And thank you. I ask you to share this journey because it's very profound, your experience, that it didn't happen overnight.
No.
It was in your lineage, but it was still being repressed, right? Even though it's clearly in the lineage, in the ancestry, and that it was a matter of releasing what was already in you, but they've been moments of challenges. And you had to take some risk. So I want to highlight this because I hear this constantly. People, especially in these times of great uncertainty, we need to step into our purpose. And we also need to take some risks to see what's going to be supported in the new earth, in the quantum human. And so the reason I'm having you focus on this is, first of all, I thank you. You're very open about it. And not everybody wants to tell that story, that part of the story. So people see you on this screen as having, attained this ability that, I'm saying your guidance team came in and started, working with me way before the interview, way before the chat.
That always happens. Usually there's a 24-hour window, or if I'm seeing a client. And when we actually see each other, I say, well, there's really nothing to do. It's already been, all the work has already been done in another dimension. And they're like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, well, everything else that's coming through right now is just like the icing on the cake.
It's just a trigger for coffee now.
Yeah, time for a cup of chai. Right. Whatever you want to, and they're coming through more and more often, where I'm just downloaded with information that's also healing. Well, first it's for me, right, to help me process and integrate all the changes and the upgrades that I'm personally experiencing. So sometimes I'll actually ask them to come in to plant a new seed of insight or a higher awareness, so I don't take anything personally. And then usually by the morning, I'm winding up laughing about it, where the night before I might have been crying with tears on my pillow, or, just really feeling shamed or wounded or triggered. And so I'm really grateful. I'm so grateful that you felt, because you too are a clairsentient empath, and probably from the same divine feminine sisterhood. I think Sisters of the Roses is one of them, but there are many, like from Mary Magdalene, from Shekinah. I'm really channeling through me the Shakti, Kundalini, the feminine potency that I think I've actually feared most of my life, or denied. There was a time in my life when I was going to tantric workshops and these cuddle parties, which were really big on the West Coast. And that's only because my ex-business partner was, and I still, I honor him for the role that he played in my life. So if you're listening, I hope you're well. Like, really, I don't hold any negative feelings toward anyone, really. But he was encouraging me with good intention because it worked for him. But it really didn't work for me. But
Empaths don't like mixing energies because it can totally change their flavor in that moment.
well, yeah, I mean, that is true. Being a sensitive empath, recently I met somebody, and it took me about 24 hours to feel like myself again because this person was so ungrounded. I had to just do a lot of recalibration and and kind of go within to see why my energy was so pulled by his. And so I think if you're an empath out there and you're listening, it's very important to have a strong, reliable support system of other spiritually wise beings, people who get you, understand you, support you, and honor you and all that you've been through, and are your cheerleaders, right? And they want the best for you, like sincerely. And I think a lot of our old friendships and so-called relationships that we've had for 10 or 20 years are also, they've come to the end of the line if they're not based on an authentic, mutually helpful connection. And I don't know about you, but I've seen that over the last 2 years during the pandemic with a lot of people that that I'm just not feeling connected to anymore. And that's okay, because it's true. We just have to be authentically ourselves, because the light is exposing everyone's true identity. You know, like that song, I Could See Your True Colors.
I can see your true colors.
Shining through. I see your true colors. That's why I love you. And don't be afraid to let them through, I think, or to see them through your true colors. That's pretty profound. Like all of those songs, even from Crosby, Stills, and Nash, like You Are Golden, We Are Stardust, all of those songs on the Fifth Dimension, and all of them that we probably grew up with, and we didn't really get the true meaning of it, because ascension, enlightenment was supposed to take place like 50 years ago, probably 60 years ago now.
But there's the big but.
And I don't want to say but. Somebody once said, if you're saying but, you're retracting and deleting all the good that you just brought in. So, and, because this is a timeline of both and, not either or. So, and what is the next exciting step that we can all co-create together in this life plan, in this timeline, right?
Yes, in a new, fresh way. And one of the things that I think what you're talking about, so this, we'll see, you're in the same tradition as well, where you've dealt directly. So they say dyed in the color of your love. There are poet saints that have talked about that, you know, we pick up colors and vibrations from each other. But no. And one of the key things that I think there's a lot of relationship transitions, because as we make these choices in the new paradigm, in the paradigm pivot, some of the relationships fall apart or don't feel right. Mm-hmm. And so I think one of the aspects that you've mastered and you might like to speak about is that quality of strength. That as empaths, we've first of all probably been subconsciously perceived as weak. Whether we knew it or not, they were interpreting with their minds the sensitivities, which is why many of us hid the sensitivity, because we were psychically aware that they were interpreting it as weakness. But how did you personally, so we visualize we have this growing group, thousands of people, most of them either empaths or awakening empaths. how did you personally cultivate the strength in your own self to make, for example, to divorce your husband or to change the relationship, to stand on your own in your work? What was the strength? What gave you that strength? It's important for people to know that courage and safety to become, right?
Yeah,
You.
it's a recognition that this strength, this courage, this tenacity, this resiliency was always there within me,
Ooh.
as it is within you and every one of us. It's not something that's outside of us that we can bring in to us or ask to come in. It's already there. We have all, Thich Nhat Hanh says, we have already all the right conditions and circumstances for happiness, for joy, understanding, and happiness already within us. We have these seeds of compassion within us, self-compassion, and the same with strength, courage, wisdom. And I think that sometimes it has to really hit home for us personally and like personally touch our lives where it becomes unbearable to be anyone other than ourselves.
I love that. That is so true. Where there's just no choice anymore. That
Yes.
It's either live in your truth, even if it's alone. I know Muktananda said, even if everyone turns against you, if you have the self, it won't really matter. So it's that process of becoming self-realized, meaning you're strong in yourself. And so in this time, many are experiencing diverse challenges, but were you ever challenged? Did you ever feel you were being challenged or attacked for the essence of who you are, for expressing because I can tell you're awake. So when you express your truth as an awakened person, and then someone who's not perceiving it the same, there can be conflict. And many are going through this right now because people are choosing. It's like choosing, okay, I'm going to choose first class, or I'm going to choose the Concorde jet. I'm going to choose the accelerated path. And then say they're in a family group of 30 people and the other 29 are saying, I'm going to try to stay comfortable. So did you ever feel this passageway? My guides are telling her to ask you this passageway of being attacked, and what brought you through that, if you did, or just attacked or maybe not supported, but even stronger than that?
Wow, that's a very multi-nuanced question with a lot of layers and moving pieces. So I will try to decipher that, unravel that a little bit in a way that makes sense for people to understand it.
They understand. I'll tell you why they understand. I would say right now, at least 50 to 75% of the people that are going to be listening to this are in exactly that place. Just based on the statistics of interacting in groups or privately, I would say it could be as high as 90%. It really could be that high. So
I'm not doubting that at all. I just want to make sure that I'm clear in my presentation and in my thought process as well of explaining my situation, which is really our situation because we're all inter-beings, right? This is another Thich Nhat Hanh word that he invented, inter-beingness. We're interconnected, we're interrelated, we can never be separated from each other or from our ancestors. That's why a big part of my work does involve ancestral medicine as well as inner child transmissions. And so to answer your question about feeling, that's so deep. Feeling misunderstood, feeling judged. Even as a child, I always felt sort of judged. Like when I would go I always felt like people were kind of staring at me in a very puzzled way, like a very like interesting way. Like they kind of sensed that I was different but I didn't understand. I didn't like it. I wanted to blend in with everyone. I wanted to be just like everyone else. And that never really happened. And I think that has stayed with me throughout my entire life. Now I see the value in being me.
Yes.
And my roots, my heritage, my lineage. Because we're all made of stars and earth too. We're all composed of both. But I think like it hasn't been easy, you're right, to be different, even with friends growing up. I never was like the cool girl in school, you know what I mean? I wasn't a nerd either because I wasn't that like intellectual. I wasn't that academic.
Yes.
I think like I was somewhere in the middle. I felt like in between worlds. And I think in many ways I still do. And I remember also like after I became a Reiki master, I also launched a lot of meetup groups. And these meetup groups, I found out a lot of my skills that I never knew I had, which is writing, connecting, networking, marketing, supporting other light workers and teachers. But after a while, I sensed that Reiki was not enough for me because I needed to talk. I needed to speak, whether it's light language or human language. I needed to be an invitation for a divine communication to occur between myself and my clients. That's when I started studying other types of body talk, something called access consciousness, where it involved, really communicating and dialoguing with people. But after a while, I was interweaving these modalities with shamanism, with energy healing, with Reiki, with accelerated light healing. And I think that people who were just involved in one thing, in one way, who could only see black or white, not in living colors like I always have, they didn't understand. And I think that they judged that. Like, you're not supposed to mix modalities. It's either one or the other. Like, that's a big taboo. And I guess that really did feel hurtful.
Yeah.
But I knew I felt like not that I knew better, but I knew that I was just following my path, doing it my way. And I'm really happy that I never gave up and listened to anyone else. And so, yeah, I guess in that way, maybe feeling judged or misunderstood. I don't know if I would use the word attack, but maybe, in some ways, psychically. I mean, usually people who carry a lot of light are vulnerable to these types of energies out there that do exist. But, that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I definitely do. But I think that it's important not to listen and not to take anything personally, and just to know and remember and tell yourself. And when your inner child gets triggered or wounded, it's they must be really suffering. They must be really wounded to act out in this way. And that has nothing to do with me. And that I'm not going to take it personally, and I just have to really be me. And you can't not be you. It's impossible. I mean, you can try, but it is super uncomfortable, and probably not the healthiest thing in the world. But you mentioned some people choose the easy road. Some people take the high road. I feel like I always had to learn my soul lessons the hard way, in a way. But I think that that was the best way for me to really get it, or else I would have ignored all the signs along the way. And I think everybody's very, very different. And I'm really happy that I learned those lessons and that I didn't ignore my true identity. And I allowed my identity to come to the surface and to be, like you say, realize, self-realize. So it takes a lot of guts. That's why I work with a lot of divine feminine goddesses, priestesses, deities. Very, very important. And they've really helped me along the way. But we do have to have that balance of feminine and masculine. And if we're out of balance, as you know, things can go sideways. So because we can't always just receive and just sit in our homes and meditate all day, we also need to take action and follow, trust, and take guided, inspired action and put things into effect and birth them and rebirth. I have to rebirth myself and reinvent myself probably, I want to say, every couple of years because of the growth spurts and the upgrades. And we're not the same as we were even 10 seconds ago on a cellular level, right? So I think it's important for people to honor exactly where they're at and trust that wherever they're at is the perfect place to begin their journey.
I love that. Thank you. When you traveled into your various stages, I could feel that experience of, as children, or let's say adolescents or young adults, we're not exactly sure why, as we're stepping into adulthood, why people are perceiving us differently. Because it is interesting to me as I reflect back, and that was a very honest response. So thank you. Very transparent. As I look back, I realized we didn't know what to make of that. I remember when my son was playing hockey, and I used to think, I just wish I could go and enjoy a hockey game and be like a hockey mom, but I couldn't. So the day that I tried to be that hockey mom fitting in, I got a concussion. It was amazing. It was like they said, my son was playing for the New Jersey Devils. I sat with the moms, and this strange puck ricocheted off of a post to hit me. And my chiropractor said if it was about 2 inches different, I would have been dead. And it was going probably, at his level, they were traveling at about 100 miles an hour, so that it had ricocheted on a post. And then where I was sitting with the other moms, strangely, to hit me. And this is the thing I feel, that was how I got back into, I was kind of veering away from the work, because I feel as though sometimes when we're sensing, it's not even that we're being attacked, we're just sensing, this isn't quite congruent with the reality that I'm in. I have a 10-year-old son or a 20-year-old, and I want to fit in or seem normal even for him or her or whoever you're involved with at the time. We are trying to adapt. And it's in this that I think a lot of beings on earth have lost themselves, especially women. And I point this out because here's what I discovered. When you stop thinking that way, you will get the support, the full support, even if it's not human support. You may get full support from non-physicals. You will feel a sense of fulfillment that you won't feel if you keep trying to keep yourself in that box. And you're a good person to talk about that. I'm a very good person because I kept on trying to, I went to University of Chicago. You can imagine the right brainer. I sat in a yoga position, never went to the library once, just channeled what they wanted to hear, and still graduated for some strange reason. But which even I go, how did that happen? People, I used to just sit there, literally in a meditation, listening to them, sort of like they made no sense because they made no sense to me. What they were saying, I knew was antiquated, but I want to point this out because this journey, we're almost at the height of this right now, where when people come to this juncture in their evolution, if they make decisions that don't support actually their truth, there can be a lot of discomfort that's stronger than the discomfort if you take those steps that you're being guided to take. And I pointed out because I'm sure you hear this conversation every day. Not everyone has crossed into their potential yet, into their purpose. And the guidance team is saying if humanity doesn't shift a certain percentage into the true purpose of being here, we have serious issues here. So I appreciate you're very easy to read emotionally. So this is fun because I remembered walking to school in high school, and it's interesting how we also figure out how to navigate, because I think many people need navigational posts right now that you need to know, don't hang out here, because this is going to give you what you need. So thank you. That was, you figured out how to access I believe from the questions that you found a way to heal your wounds and to find your ancestral gifts that to me are very clear. Like if I had known you, I probably would have seen that instantly. And see, that's I guess Alma saw that in you. But yeah.
That's a whole nother story about how I got my name, Vanzana.
How did you get your name?
Well, I'll try to give you a thumbnail version.
Okay.
I don't know if it's possible with my Gemini personality and my talkative nature. Chatty Cathy, as they say. So what happened is, the short of it is that I had a colleague, a friend who was a healer, and she suggested that I get a Dharma name from Amma. And I had been seeing Amma and receiving her darshans, her blessings in the form of a hug and whisper in the ear with different types of mantras or light language that she would speak, which felt very comforting and vibrating. And I would always receive just a shudder of upgrades and information running through my chakras whenever I would sit down after that. I mean, that's why they invite you to sit on the stage after, to just like drink in her energy. But I couldn't seem to get a name when I asked. And I only was going to go for one day and take time off from work because I was still working for someone else at that time. And then I was told by all the her assistants and swamis and helpers, she doesn't really do that anymore. You have to go to Boston or upstate. She doesn't really do it in New York City. But why don't you come tomorrow? And actually, I did see her the first day, and she said, with a translator, told the woman to tell me to come back the next day and she'll give me a name. And I thought, oh, great. But the next day is when my and darkest night of the soul kind of happened, where I was really fighting with my own ego. And I came across a lot of obstacles, and I couldn't even get near her. And I asked about 20 different people, and they said, no, you cannot have a name. I don't know who told you that. I said, Amma told me that. I got it straight from the top. And they said, no, that's impossible. And I'm like starting to like second guess and doubt. Like, am I going crazy? Maybe she didn't tell me that. But I knew she did. So I went the third day, and then same thing happened, but I had to push through my shyness and self-consciousness and crowds of people. You can imagine the energy there. Thousands of people. And then I finally got to the front. I had to force myself to demand attention, like to say, hey, I feel like I deserve a name, a spiritual name. So the Swami said, okay, go sit down with these other people near her. And I thought, oh God, another delay. And then later I realized, oh, wow, I didn't get the blessing just to be in her energy field for hours. I didn't understand. And that's where I think most of us are coming from. We are not getting it. We're not seeing the blessings that are right in front of our eyes. Because we're either reliving regrets from the past or being retriggered from past wounds, or just maybe in anxiety about what's next, what's coming up next. So to answer your question, the end of the story is that I finally got a second hug from her, and I asked her translators for a name, and I told them I had been coming for 3 days. That was the last opportunity. And she looked at me, and she told the Swami, she instructed him, she motioned to, she pointed to a book, a big black book, which he brought over. It was a book of names. I had no idea what was happening. She's scrolling, la, 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 la. And then she's like, doop, that's it. She pointed to a name. She whispered to him. He wrote it down. He said, here is your name. I said, I don't even know how to pronounce that. What does that even mean? And he's like, oh, it just means putting your hands together in prayer. It's a very high vibrational sacred name. It's the name suited to a devotee. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds great. So I put it aside. I put that piece of paper in a drawer, and I didn't use it for several years. And then when I started channeling these divine feminine, galactic light surgeons, physicians, doctors, shamans, in my business, this same man said, you know what? One day, I think you should use your name, and I'm going to use my spiritual name, which he gave to himself. So whatever. No judgment. And I said, oh, wow, am I even worthy? Because that was the thought that kept looping around in my brain, my little reptilian survival brain. Maybe that's why I'm struggling here. Maybe I'm not really worthy to have her name.
Oh, okay.
So I had to push through that resistance, which came from within me. Not from Amma, not from the Swamis, not from anyone or anything. It was me struggling with me.
Yes.
Winning over my own approval, feeling worthy. And that's my story.
Oh, I love that. I love that. And I'm guided to say that one of the biggest issues that I have seen among the empaths, who are some of the most gifted people on the planet, is because of these stories and these experiences, they end up with low self-esteem, low self-worth. Somewhere we don't, and I include myself, unbelievably low self-worth. I mean, I look back and I think, this makes absolutely no sense. But
yeah.
I had low to no self-worth. I think it's really important. And the reason was I was interpreting, you don't quite fit in here, you're not quite like us, as there's something.
Where are you from? I've even been asked that by lots of people, including like 3D, I call them Western medical doctors. Not the 5D ones that I channel in, but even into like a doctor in a professional doctor's office staring at me when I came in and I sat in his office. And the first thing he said to me was, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "You mean what planet?" And I laughed about it. And he was like, "What?" No, I mean, like, what country? And so I think I've been asked that all my life, but now I really get it. It's not about the country, the culture, or any physical location on this earth. It's from like, what planet are you from? Because you're really different, and owning that and feeling comfortable about my roots in my skin now. Yeah. And I think it took a really long time to get to that place. So I always want to empower and encourage other people to feel proud of wherever they came from, and not to make it mean anything, but and not to feel like people have to really blend in or fit in or be like anyone else, and that any kind of so-called disability is actually a super ability.
There you go. That's it. And also, I want to say not to underestimate, just to put a footnote to what you're saying. Yeah. I've learned this through integration, that not to underestimate the level at which they're perceiving. When they say, "Where are you from?" And now you might get into a conversation of, "Oh yeah, I'm from, wherever." The Pleiades, Sirius, whatever. But to not underestimate how that might have impacted your experience in that moment is all I'll say. If it's almost like them asserting, "You're not like me." And if it's a doctor, they may be saying, "I have no idea how to treat you because you make," so there are a lot of implications. And I think part of our work is to help people to realize that these experiences need to be mastered now. They need to be cleared and mastered, because it wasn't the truth. You are supremely powerful. And as you said, how did you say that? I love that. With the name of your talk, they're not disabilities, they're superpowers. Super abilities.
Well, yeah.
Super abilities.
We're all superheroes. We all have different gifts, skills, talents, and abilities that have value. Like if I wouldn't have taken that leap of faith and left my, 9 to 5, human job, and, stepped into my greater self, I would have never known that I had all of these abilities like writing, channeling, speaking, healing, teaching. I would have never known any of that, which is very sad. It feels very sad. And that does take a lot of courage, a lot of fortitude, strength, and resiliency. And we have to find that motivation within us and never give up. That's another Buddhist philosophy that is very empowering. Never give up. Because, just because you're feeling discouraged or disoriented or disillusioned today, it doesn't mean you'll always be feeling this way, right? And tomorrow is another day. And every breath of life that we're allowed to breathe in and out is another opportunity to touch our own seeds of self-compassion and self-care. And that's why all of my classes and all of my services and sessions are about helping people to take care of themselves and their inner child better, to sit with their feelings, to honor and embrace them, and not run away from difficult feelings, but trusting that this too shall pass.
I love that. This too shall pass, and never give up. We love that. And when you are recognizing or interpreting, now I do want to say that given that they say 20% of the planet approximately would be sensitives, which means more mirror neurons, a different perception of reality.
Oh, yes.
That's like, like 1.5 billion people that mostly are in the stages, stuck in the stages that you and I have just discussed. That's
Yeah.
that's a loss of planetary fuel in a sense. So I want to thank you. That's really a very clear description of some of the, when you're walking through the path, and it's almost like, okay, right now they're glamorizing, oh, are you a sensitive, do you feel this and that, and they're marketing it and marketing it.
I know.
But the truth is, I'm going to make a bold statement here.
Okay, go for it.
Some of the most gifted people on this planet are hidden. Their talents are hidden because they don't understand them yet. They're not the people that you see at every event, at every, many.
Thank you.
Yes. And so one of the joys, I just got goosebumps.
I know, because it's really true. And I feel very passionate about this too, Helena, because it's kind of like in the film industry too. Where you see the same actors getting the same roles over and over again. It's like, hello, aren't there actually any other actors, like any unknown actors that you could give this role to that could play the part so much better with so much more authenticity, that actually maybe have that disability and not have an actor who doesn't play that role? It's kind of like the same in our industry, isn't it? It's kind of like, well, this person seems to relate most to other humans, and we're just going to use that same person over and over again. But just like the curanderas, right, and the shamans and the psychic surgeons in these remote towns and villages in the Amazon or in Brazil, there are so many of these healing clinics where they literally reach into people and reorganize their organs and do things that are miraculous that no one else could ever do here. They are hidden. They have the cures already. So it's kind of like that. And so it's like frustrating on one level, but another level, it's really good to know that they are here. It's just a question of finding them. And I think that's what happened today with us.
Yes. And also being willing to have this conversation, to make ourselves, like you were speaking, I remembered, it was amazing actually, how was it that my consciousness, as like I particularly remember this, well, no, it started in school. Here's a very tangible example. I read when I was 3. Nobody knew how. I certainly didn't know how. And so, but it was weird. It was odd. It was weird. I got 2 double promotions. That was odd. That was weird. My mother was smart. She wouldn't let me take the 3rd because she knew I'd be too emotionally mature. But I interpreted that as a negative because it doesn't. And I feel as though a lot of sensitives with their superpowers are misinterpreting the information in the same way. Less now because we're having these types of conversations. But back then, we had there was no
clue. No clue. We were clueless, and many of us still are. But I think it's a question that we're educators, we're truth tellers, and we can help people to tell a different story. Once they stop judging who they think they are and their real identity. But what you said is so profound. I want to just touch base on that quickly. Is about the mirror neurons, because I'm really into neuroscience and Buddhist psychology and neurocircuitry, like rewiring everything. I think that it's especially important for those highly sensitive people, the HSPs, as they call them, who can feel others' pain. They can also feel their joy and their true identity. They could sense if they're BSing or not. But then those people who feel pain can, if mismanaged, can misinterpret it and mistake it that it's their own pain. or it could hurt them so deeply that they wind up hiding and isolating from the rest of society.
Thank you.
And this is what I think we have to teach. That's why I'm a teacher. Even when I was little and we played house, I was always a teacher. I had a blackboard that my mother bought with chalk and erasers and the whole thing. And I love that role. And I understand now, like, oh yeah, I'm a teacher. When people ask me, like, quote unquote, like normal people, like, well, you're a teacher. What do you teach? And I tell them energy healing. There's like this big silence, like, oh, what's that? Yeah. It's like, okay, well, I transform lives. Oh, I see. Well, that's interesting. Okay. And so, yeah, it's okay. We're all, the more faithful, the more we hold faith and trust and own our own gifts and abilities, I think the faster this process will take where we can reunite with our tribes.
I love that.
And that's Earth and Star tribes. And that's galactic, celestial, solar, lunar, but also the inner Earth tribes, like from Talos and Mount Shasta and Shambhala. These are all other members of my team that we didn't have a chance to get into today, but maybe next time we can.
I love you.
You got the gift of the dance of like the maypole. Like, I think that May energy, that springtime fertility. And I feel that's all you needed today to shift your vibration and to realign where you were at before, to shift you into the space that you're in right now. And it's going to be different for everybody. Some people need like that fierce Kali Durga, tough mother, Dakini, dark mother energy. And then they'll come in. And some people, really feel like they were hurt or injured or disempowered by the patriarchy. So I'll bring in the kind, sensitive, healthy male that honors the goddess. So whether they're in the form of a doctor, a healer, a surgeon, or anyone who can help them, it would be like a father, a secure provider figure. So whether you need to remother or refather yourselves, the guides will come through me. So I'm really grateful, because I never even knew, like you, that this was happening. I still can't figure it out completely. But one thing I have learned is to let it be.
I love that. Yes, let it be. And continue to have the conversation, to serve others in the conversation. So in closing, this has been a profound journey. I actually went down a completely unexpected road with you because you were willing to be transparent. Just know that. And so you were willing to share. So I shared equally. And
I appreciate that. This was very, very profound conversation, I would say. And I've been on shows for at least 5 or 6 years. And this is probably one of the deepest, most authentic and open conversations that I've had, and really, really helpful, I trust, for everyone who is meant to listen to the show on the replay, live or on the replay. So thank you.
Thank you, honey. And if there's anything you'd like to say in closing, that's a beautiful way to close. We will reach.
Yeah, I have a free gift that I just wanted to let everyone know how to reap the most benefits from, how to receive it, is listen to each chakra balancing transmission that will cleanse, clear, purify, and unlock any blocks in a specific chakra. So in an energy center that stopped spinning or shut down or became weakened, damaged, compromised, or maybe overactive. or hypervigilant. And just trust that you have healing hands. You could scan for any type of unwellness or ungroundedness or imbalance that might be creating a sense of dis-ease in your mind or in your body. But listen to these transmissions before bedtime or first thing in the morning, when you could actually soak in the light of these energies and divine light frequencies, and trust that you're receiving the energy medicine from the chakra doctors that have your back. And allow yourself to receive them totally, that you are worthy of these higher dimensional frequencies, because we are morphing, like we said before, from carbon to crystalline. And we are going through this major transformation in every cell of our body. So we're developing these ascension chakras too, that have never existed before. So we want to be open and just trust the process and get out of your own way. And, you know, you could start at the root and go to the crown, or you could start at the crown and go to your root. There's no particular order, but I think this is about tuning in, breathing, stopping, pausing, and listening to your intuition. That has it contains everything you need. It's not outside, it's inside. So I hope that this will be a great contribution to everyone. It's a great starting point, because we need to do a spring detox and a cleanup here. We need to clean out the closets, throw out the clutter, the mess, all that mental turmoil and clutter, right? To really have more peace and clarity and a clearer sense of direction about where we come from, but really more importantly, where we're going.
I love that. Where are we going? So I want to thank you for being with us today and sharing your truth and the truth of those assisting us on this magnificent journey back into awakening. So thank you for being with us, and we will be talking again soon.
Yes.
And the link is below if you want to reach out, do some sessions, find out more about the wounded sensitive.